Welcome to Cape Media News. This is Candid Candidates. I'm joined today by Owen Fletcher, the Democrat nominee for the 5th Barnstable District. Owen, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
We've been sitting down with all the candidates in our area and just kind of trying to get to know the person behind the politician, if you will. So starting off, we just want to know, where are you from? How did you get to where you are, and what informed your interest into politics?
Well, I washed ashore on Cape about 10 years ago. I'm from northern Jersey, right outside of New York City. So for those who know the area at all, about 10 to 15 minute drive from Newark Airport, no traffic, and there's always traffic, 25-minute drive from the Holland Tunnel into Manhattan. So that's where I'm from. How did I get here is met a very nice woman who is my first wife, who's from Falmouth. My current, and as she likes to put it, last wife is also from Falmouth, but I went to the Cape a lot, holidays, summers, to have my kids visit their family, and fell in love with it, and that's how I got here. In terms of politics, it's been an interest my whole life. If you had asked me at 16, I would tell you that I'd want to be a congressman or a senator. This is pre-Barack Obama, so that's what I aspired to. If you had asked me at 35, I would have told you I never want to run for office ever again and would just like to work in the background. But always been interested in how things work and politics and history. And when you read history, you imagine what you'd do if you were in it, and went to Harvard to study government, went to law school. People ask what kind of lawyer I am. I say I'm the kind that helps elected officials write laws. So,
Well, that's a good type of lawyer to be to run for office. Kind of gives you a good insight on the day-to-day on how things go. And you had mentioned at 35, you said you wouldn't run again. Is this not your first time running for office?
Oh, well, this is my first time running for a legislative office. I did run for a Democratic State Committee earlier this year. I lost that election, but I was appointed to the committee afterwards. I learned quite a bit being a staff member. I spent 5 years before I got here as a aide and researcher to legislative leaders and staff committees, and worked for politicians. And I really thought that you could do a lot behind the scenes without paying some of the costs of being out in public. And I thought that was a better role for me. And I had very young children and just didn't think that was my way to participate.
And currently you're the clerk for the Assembly of Delegates.
I am.
And that kind of gives you, I feel like, a little bit more insight into how the local government here all throughout the Cape in all the towns is going. How do you think that experience will help you as a representative?
So after I washed ashore, I did spend a year and a half working as a legislative aide for Representative Brian Mannell, who represented parts of Barnstable and Yarmouth for about a year and a half. But after he retired from office, I went to go work for the county, and I worked for the commissioner's office for 3 or 4 years as an executive assistant to the county administrator and the commissioners. And then after that, I worked for the assembly. So what that gives me is a sense of what issues are important regionally, how those issues differ from town to town. So when people ask me, say, in Sandwich or Bourne, where do you live? I'm very quick to tell them, although I live in Barnstable, I'm used to thinking about the region as a whole. What it also means is over 7 years, I've had to help the elected officials in the region prepare for meetings. There are very few topics where I haven't had to gather documents and put together research, whether it's broadband or wastewater or housing or coastal resiliency, anything you can think of that may have come up over the last 7 years. I've had to put those documents together. I've had to have a sense of what's in them. And so there'll be less learning on the job, I think, than than there would be for other people, for me, because of what I've done in my career, both working for state legislators, but also working on regional issues on a day-to-day basis.
And something that I've been talking with all the candidates about that I admire about the Cape Cod delegation specifically is that they are very bipartisan, more so than I feel like anywhere else in the state or even the country, that they really work together for Cape Cod, regardless of being Republican or Democrat. Can you speak to that and how you would continue that, or what your thoughts are on working that closely with people that you might not agree with sometimes?
Well, as a legislative aide for a member of the Cape Cod delegation, and then it was more split than it is now, you see a group of legislators who are coming together to solve regional and Cape-wide problems, regardless of party, because a lot of these issues are not partisan. We're not talking about some of the hot-button issues nationally. We're talking about, for instance, the housing bill. And we're talking about how to build more attainable units for residents, for workers. Well, there's not much of a party difference, especially in a bill where we didn't see a realty transfer fee. And so I know that my current rep voted for it. I know that Democrats voted for it. But I do think that bipartisanship has limits. I'll give you an example. My understanding is that on Joint Base Cape Cod, there was a bipartisan split, and that the Democrats in the delegation signed letters and contacted the governor and asked her to put a stop to that project. The Republicans did not. So I think, in general, I'm not trying to work on issues informed solely by ideology and how different sides of the divide, left, right, blue, red, deal with them. I'm trying to figure out what's best for the people in the district and in the Cape, on the Cape and in the Commonwealth. And if that means working with people who I disagree with on 6 or 7 things out of 10, but we agree on this one, then you do it. And if you have disagreements, you lay them out and you try to come to some understanding about them. So I think that if you put the onus on what's best for the communities you're a part of and you represent, you won't go wrong.
Well, Owen, thank you so much for sitting down with us today, and we would love to have you back in the studio.
Anytime.
That's right. Thank you.